Hello, everybody. This is Megan,
And this is Alana.
and welcome to Tea Time Crimes.
Halloween edition.
Nailed it.
It's spooky in here.
It is spooky in here. We are getting closer and closer to Halloween. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. The weather has dropped significantly this weekend.
I know, I'm in
60
pants.
degrees. I'm in
love
pants.
it.
It's amazing. We went out for HIKE. Oh, no, it's not that. For a hike this morning. It is just very beautiful. Very beautiful. And guess what movie we saw in theaters last night?
I have no idea.
Hocus Pocus.
Wait, it was in the theater?
Mm-hmm. AMC had
Why?
it in theaters. I think check your local AMC. They might have it for this weekend. And they're doing a few of the classics over the next few weekends.
Wow. Well, we don't need to because we also watched Hocus Pocus last night.
Oh, wow.
What are the odds? We had a home
What are the
viewing. Yeah.
odds? Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like a bunch of Hocus Pocus.
It was. It was great.
Such
I
a
love
good
that
movie. We were
really
just
good.
talking about like someone who didn't need that movie, right? Like what's her name? Bette Milder.
Milder? Yeah. That's
What's
her
her last name?
Midler. I
Mid-
apologize, Bet. Please excuse my co-host.
She didn't need this role, but she went so hard into it. And it
So
was just
good.
amazing.
I was thinking that too. I was thinking she's a singer, but dang, she's so good at acting as she was playing that role last night.
Oh, killed it.
So good.
Killed it.
Yeah, even my son liked it, although I did have to field a lot of questions.
Around what?
Was Thackeray Binks a boy or a girl? That was asked several times.
Long hair.
Because he has long hair, which I kept telling him, boys can have long hair too. And boys
had
long hair. I know, so I told them boys had long hair back then, but then you saw Max, and Max didn't have long hair, so what was happening? So then I had to explain that it was a 300-year span.
Oh,
I also had to field what a virgin was.
Oh.
It was a dicey 90 minutes, let's just put it that way, but I still enjoyed the movie.
That's hilarious.
Was it? Yeah, what do you got going on today? You ready for tea, or you got any big... Is the rabbit gone? Any big updates?
Rabbit is gone.
To a safer spot?
Well, we did our best.
Okay. It's ominous.
Today's tea is from our trip in Boone. Well, when we went to Boone and we went to there's like a very witchy spiritual store that I was going to say we always like to go to. The 2 times we've been to Boone together, we've gone to and enjoyed. It felt appropriate for this month. It feels like a spell. It's prosperity tea. Is the name of it.
Put a spell on me. Let's do it.
Exactly. Black tea, pennyroyal, parsley, basil, meadowsweet, sage, clover, mistletoe, and rose hips.
That is a weird assortment.
Yeah, I was dying thinking of me prepping this tea for you and you seeing it because there's just like, it looks like a twig in it as well. Like it's just hilarious.
It sounds pretty earthy.
Yeah. And even though it's black tea, no milk, because I smelled it smells so herbal. You know what I mean?
I don't want basil in my tea.
Oh, I want basil in everything.
Or basil.
I have a basil candle. Ugh. I like the smell so much. It's my favorite herb by far.
I only want basil with mozzarella cheese, no other places, please.
Take it all the time. Okay.
All right.
We got our Halloween cup. Very herbal smell. I can't tell you which is winning out of it, though. Maybe the sage or the meadowsweet, whatever the hell that is. All right, let's go in.
I like how you named it a winner, even though you don't know who it is.
It's there and it's gone, folks. It just dips in and it just sparkles right off like a little pixie.
Like a ghost.
Or a ghost. Yeah, it's an herbal ghost that just like razzle dazzles for a second and then blips out. I'm left with nothing but warmth.
I mean, that's not terrible.
It's not
to be left with.
terrible.
It's a black tea, though?
It's a black tea, but there is no body to it. I'm telling you. I can't even tell you the herbs I'm tasting. I'm trying to.
Well, because none of those herbs have a notable taste that you read
Yeah,
off.
they do. Parsley,
What is...
basil, sage, clover. I know what those taste like. And it doesn't, I'm not really getting those. Maybe the sage, but that's all I can tell. It's a weak thumbs down. It's not a
Ooh,
powerful spell. I don't think I'm going to
yikes.
get prosperous from this.
Yikes.
But it'll keep me warm. That's something.
Don't quit your day job then. All right. Oh, apologies. Do you want to
And now
pause?
you're mine.
Do you want to pause to add some milk?
No, I don't think that'll do anything.
Sorry for your disappointment. Are you ready for spooky season?
No.
Here we go. We're going to cover a haunted house today.
No.
No, you're going to like it because we're going to talk about the legend of the haunted house and then we're going to talk about the truth of the haunted house. And I think you're
Okay.
really going to enjoy the second part.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it's not that scary. No, really. I think you're going to enjoy it.
Science.
The Winchester Mystery House is said to be
Winchester.
one of the most haunted homes in America, on top 10 lists all over the place, even in Time magazine.
Wow.
Built by the wealthy heiress Sarah Winchester in the late 1800s, the house contains over 160 rooms,
What?
10,000 windows, 2,000 doors,
No.
52 skylights, 47 fireplaces, 40
Oh,
staircases,
no.
13 bathrooms,
Yes.
6 kitchens, and 3 elevators.
I can't. If a house has more than 6 rooms, I'm already spooked.
6 rooms?
Yeah.
That's not that many.
6 bedrooms.
Oh, okay. The 6 bedrooms, sure. Originally, it was a modest 12-room farmhouse
Oh, just a modest 12 room.
on a 45-acre ranch, and Sarah Winchester bought up the surrounding properties and continued to build.
Oh,
It
my
was said the
gosh.
hammers never stopped, and neither did the rumors, which have now become legend of the Winchester Mystery House. Now, here's the legend, okay? In 1862, Sarah married William Winchester, making her the heir. Is Sarah Winchester with us? What was that?
I don't know. I didn't do anything.
It sounded like a
And
piano was in the room.
a spring just like thrummed.
Oh my gosh, it's
Oh
happening.
God, I'm so glad this is during the day. I would
Hi, Sarah.
peed myself.
No, I love Sarah. By the end of this, I've really come around. So I think it's okay that she's with you. She's just saying hi. Now, she was the heir of the Winchester Rifle fortune. If it happened again, I was going to pee my pants. No, okay. When William Winchester passed away at the age of 43.
We're like, roll the story back and follow us at Tea Time Crimes.
With no heirs, Sarah was an incredibly wealthy woman.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Now, the first legend goes that she was grief-stricken over the loss of her husband, and she went to visit a medium named Adam Coons. This psychic medium told her that William, so he's talking to her deceased husband, wanted her to move west and to build a house. He told Sarah that she needed to build a room for each spirit that had died at the hands of the Winchester Rifle, and as long as she kept building, she would be safe from the curse of this invention.
What?
So Sarah fled to Santa Clara Valley and got to work. It said for 38 years until her death, Sarah continued to renovate and add on to the house to appease the spirits that were haunting her. She rarely went out in public, and when she did, she covered her face in a black veil and wore black gloves at all times.
This is extreme.
She was rumored to be swept up in the spiritualism movement, which is in fact the practice of talking to the dead, because everybody dies in the 1800s, and it was a way for people to get some relief from their grief. But this was starting to build in the mid-1800s, and by the time Sarah started construction, it had some pretty big holes in it. So the Fox sisters had been at the forefront of the spiritualism movement, and they would perform seances, communicating with spirits through a series of knocks. Then in 1888, one of the sisters said it was all a scam, that they had just used apples tied to strings, or they made noises by cracking their knuckles. And she later recanted, but the damage was already done. And so the public opinion of this was very unfavorable. They were seen as charlatans and con men, and nobody believed in it anymore. And the disgust for spiritualism grew into the 1900s, and this became a ready explanation for Sarah Winchester's behavior.
Okay, so Santa Clara, she's in California?
Yeah.
How did her husband die again?
I'll get into it.
Okay.
Part of the curse.
Okay, because I'm like, why is she acting so intensely?
Well, the home had several odd features, which are believed to be the sole purpose to appease and ward off spirits. The numbers 7, 11, and 13 are peppered throughout the home, intentionally in several places. For instance, the 13th bathroom has 13 windows. The hand-painted sink from Italy has 13 drain holes. The chandelier from Germany has 13 light bulbs, even though it had originally only been built with 12. Even her will is said to have 13 sections. When you first enter the home, you're taken to the carriage room entrance. And this was a room that allowed Sarah to board her carriage without having to be outside in case the weather was bad. Here, there is a staircase to nowhere. It just goes up to the ceiling or a wall. The theory being to confuse the spirits.
I have to know why she's like this. This is very strange.
In another part of the house, there's a door that leads to nowhere. It just opens up to a second floor drop. No staircase, nothing. It just drops down onto the concrete
Why would
below.
the spirits get confused by that if maybe they can float?
From this carriage house room, there is also a staircase that is 100 feet long and has 7 turns in it.
Whoa, like Hogwarts.
In the center of the house is what they call the seance room. Now, Sarah was the only person said to be allowed to enter this room, and she kept it locked. There were bars on the windows, and although there was just one way in, you could get out of the room through a secret passage.
Jeez.
She is said to have visited this room every night to talk to the spirits about the next plans for the house. So she would ring the bell tower. Well, she wouldn't. She would have somebody ring the bell tower every night at midnight to call the spirits. She would enter this room. She would talk to them about the plans for the house and what they wanted her to build. Then at 2 a.m., the bell would ring again and the spirits would leave, and she would exit the seance room with plans for the next day. Because this was a house that is supposedly filled with spirits, there have been several sightings.
And we don't know why.
Well, I'm going to get to that next. Just sit tight. One of the most common sightings is of a man named Clyde, Sarah's loyal caretaker. At any time in her lifespan, she was said to have as many as 18 maids, 2 drivers, 13 carpenters, and 10 gardeners.
For just her?
She had several properties all over the state. She was known to pay twice the going rate.
Oh, nice.
So Clyde was into his job. He thought it was great. He stayed. He's seen around the grounds by people pushing wheelbarrows. That's not a word. Wheelbarrows. There it is. Helping guests find their way, taking care of odd jobs. People have also reported what they call a shadow figure. It's a human shape out of the corner of their eye, looking out a window over the gardens.
I would leave forever and live at a boat, probably. That would be my move.
Sometimes when they're touring the house, they feel a pull on their clothes as they're walking through the rooms.
Punch.
And a Winchester employee took a picture of this shadow apparition, which can be seen looking out the front windows. The idea is that this might be Sarah Winchester.
Or it's somebody's shadow, actual.
Sounds are also heard throughout the house. People talking, but no one is there. The sound of the chandelier swinging over the table in an empty room. Footsteps traveling through the home. The maintenance worker for the property chased footsteps up the stairs of the water tower. And when he got to the very top, nobody was there. At least no one that he could see. So all of these things have cemented the Winchester Mystery House into legend, and you can tour it today. I actually did a virtual tour.
Why?
So I could see it.
Ugh.
And it's said to be one of the most haunted homes in America. But
I need you to watch The Haunting in Venice. Sounds very similar.
I read Captive of the Labyrinth, Sarah L. Winchester, Heiress to the Rifle Fortune by Mary Jo Ignoffo. And you will find that most of the legend is in fact a lie.
Yeah.
So Sarah Winchester grew up Sarah Party in New Haven, Connecticut, and she was born in 1839 to a family with 5 girls and 1 son.
Wow.
All of the children received an education, including music and language lessons.
Nice.
Because of this, Sarah was an accomplished pianist, and she spoke 4 languages.
Wow. Why don't people do that anymore?
I know, as well as having a natural inclination to math and science.
She's a smarty tarty.
She is described as a prodigy.
Yeah, sounds like
She's
that.
super smart. Yeah. Girl's got brains.
Wow.
As she's growing up in New Haven, the Winchesters moved next door to her family. This means Sarah and William Winchester grew up together. And when their families met, they were on the same level of status and wealth.
Okay.
They weren't super, super rich, but they were obviously well off because you can hire, you have live-in servants, you have tutors, right? When William was growing up, his father, Oliver, had patented a new shirt collar. And he worked really hard on it. And with time and energy, he created a successful manufacturing business of men's shirts using an assembly line.
Huh.
He employed thousands of people when it
Wow.
reached its height. While this business is growing, Oliver Winchester invested in one of his own interests, which was the Volcanic Repeating Arms Company. He had several interests in different companies, and this happened to just be one of them.
Is that a gun company?
Yeah. Two men by the name Smith and Wesson had created a revolver. And Oliver was interested in it, so he invested. He ended up acquiring the company in 1857, which he ultimately would rename the Winchester Repeating Company.
And everybody knows a Winchester rifle. That's very famous.
They do now. And he hired an engineer by the name of Benjamin Tyler Henry. Henry is the one who invented the Winchester rifle in the way that we know it. So
okay.
He took what Smith & Wesson had done, but he made improvements. So it became the first gun of its kind, and it went through several iterations, but ultimately became an incredibly powerful firearm. So I want to point out the first inconsistency, right? The legend goes that Sarah's cursed by her husband's invention.
But it's not.
One, her husband didn't invent it. Either did her father-in-law. A man by the name of Benjamin Tyler Henry invented it.
With 3 first names.
Yeah.
How do you think he feels about that?
He probably feels nothing currently.
Okay.
He's probably resting peacefully.
Or is he?
Or is he at the Winchester Mystery House? Her father-in-law was also the one who started the company, not her husband. This is her father-in-law's company.
Right.
And the attitude on guns is incredibly different in the 1800s than it is even in the 1900s. Guns were needed to survive. They're needed to hunt. It's okay.
There's not a lot of Publix supermarkets and all that.
Yeah, they have to forage.
Yeah, look at that.
They go shoot those mushrooms.
Nibble and die.
So William, when he married Sarah, he was fully committed to taking over the clothing business. His father had several investments that nobody was thinking had a bead on this Winchester rifle as the way to their fortune.
Yeah.
He was working hard at this clothing shop. But William and Sarah get married in the fall of 1862, and she'd grown into this smart, confident woman who stood about 4'10". She just fits in your pocket. She has dark brown hair, which she wore in tight curls around her head, and large brown eyes. William was about a foot taller, which isn't hard to do.
Yeah.
And he had blue eyes and kind of this auburn hair with very distinctive mutton chops.
Oh.
Well, I mean, it was 1800s. They had picked each other, which is not always the case.
Oh, love
They
that.
genuinely liked each other. They grew up together. They were friends, and they decided to build a life together, and both of their families were pleased.
Nice.
When they got married, the Civil War was already in full swing.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Did he get enlisted?
So Sarah's sisters before her had like extravagant, a double wedding, actually.
Oh, that's fun. Remind me what state they're in right now?
They're in Connecticut.
Okay, right.
Yeah. They'd had a big double wedding, but when her and William got married, the Civil War was happening, so they had a much more subdued affair. And then they moved in with William's family after their wedding because their house was being built, and it was going to take a long time because supplies were short due to the Civil War.
Definitely some supply chain cut off there.
So she's in the house with William's parents as well as several of William's sisters with their husbands and family. It's a big house, but it's a full house.
Yeah.
William did not fight for the Union Army, and there's several reasons why this is thought to be the case. One, he was the only son of the Winchesters, which excludes him.
Really? I didn't know that. That was a rule. So if you only had one son, they're free.
Two, he may not have passed a medical exam, as we'll see later on. He wasn't in the best of health.
Oh.
3, you could also be excluded if you had a job that was deemed important for the war. And so it's possible that maybe the fact that he was manufacturing men's clothing might have also excused him. So it seems like there are several reasons that he could have been excused. We don't know why, but that's the assumption is one of those. But people in William and Sarah's family are in the Civil War. Sarah's brother enlists, even though he's the only boy in that family, and William's brother-in-law. During the war, the Winchesters had an unrelated tragedy hit home. When William's sister Annie was pregnant with her third child, her second child died as a toddler.
Oh.
This broke Annie and made the pregnancy much harder for her.
Yeah.
She ended up dying from childbirth complications on January 17th, 1864.
Oh.
And the baby that she gave birth to only survived for 19 days.
Oh.
Right? Can you imagine the devastation that family?
No,
they just lost 3 members of the same family.
Oh, man. It's so bad.
Annie's husband, Charles, can hardly function. And Jane Winchester, which is William and Annie's mother, is beyond consolable,
Yeah.
having lost her daughter. So when Sarah and William actually complete their house, they decide to keep their remaining family together in the wake of the tragedy, and they actually move William's parents in with them as well so that Jane can have people close by. Now, right after the war ended, Sarah became pregnant.
Oh, congrats.
Her and William were ecstatic. They welcomed a baby girl on June 15th, 1866, and they named her Annie after William's sister.
Oh.
Sadly,
No.
baby Annie did not survive more than a few weeks.
No, come on.
She was unable to digest food, and despite every effort, Sarah and William had to watch their baby girl starve to death, essentially.
No.
She would cry out in horrible pain, and there was nothing they could do. She could not keep any food down.
I can't. I would not be able to do that. Wait, what do they do today to solve that? IV.
I'm sure they have IVs and feeding tubes.
Oh, God.
With the loss of their only child, they
I
entered
can't
into a
imagine.
deep period of mourning, and Sarah Winchester was said to not leave the house for a year.
I get it completely.
Yeah. So during this time, William is working at the shirt factory. He's become a partner, and he has plans to make it a big success. But Oliver, his father, has a really sharp business sense, and this rifle company is turning into something.
It sure is.
And while Oliver is trying to build it up, the engineer goes a little bit behind his back, and Oliver doesn't love it. And so he asks William to please come over to work for him.
Really?
At the Winchester Repeating Arms Company because he wants somebody he can trust. So William comes over as secretary.
Huh.
Yeah, which I think means something different.
Yeah.
He was taking messages.
Like secretary of when you're in like a leadership position is a little different.
Yeah. Now with the railroad expanding, Oliver wanted to move out to San Francisco, and he sent Sarah and William to scope it out. In 1870, they made a cross-country trip, checked out San Francisco. They loved it. And as the wealth grew for the family, they built a new home, 20,000 square feet. It housed several people because it's multiple families.
These are mansions. 20,000 square feet, just the house?
Yeah, but they're housing more than one family.
No, I know, but still, that's so many feet.
Yeah. And the construction was something Sarah was heavily involved in. Her and William were in charge of the management and the design, and it's a project they enjoyed and something they did together, and it's something that kind of helped
That's lovely.
them come out of their grief a little
heal
bit.
Together.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that so much. Like a project that they can pour all their energy into.
Exactly. And she really enjoyed it. Well, buckle up, because by 1880,
come on, give them a break.
The next year of Sarah's life was again riddled with loss. Her own mother passed away, followed by Oliver Winchester suffering a stroke. He managed to learn how to walk again, and he had started to talk again.
Wow.
But then he had a setback, and he became bedridden, and he passed away.
Come on. The
worst of it came in the spring of 1881 when William himself died from tuberculosis.
Oh.
I think there's something devastating about compounding grief, because I can only assume that with the loss of William, she felt the pain of losing her daughter, Annie, all over again.
Yeah.
And she's now lost the only person in the world who kind of knows how she feels.
Understands. Yeah. I mean, and with them, it sounds like, they loved each other. And think of the partnership that you just lose. Like, you guys both know how you guys feel. Nobody else really can feel it. And then you also healed together, like by doing this project. I mean, that just like rips a part out of you that you'll never get back.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Well, obviously she's devastated, but Sarah has a lot of business to take care of. She has to plan the funeral.
No.
She also has a lot of legal work to take care of, because that's what happens after somebody dies, but it's particularly when somebody's very wealthy.
Right, and a business and all that.
And William has left Sarah everything.
Okay.
Sarah now has a vote on the board.
Oh.
But she does not take over any position, and it's unclear if she said she didn't want to or if they just never considered it because she was a woman.
Of course.
But she doesn't work there. She just has a constant vote on the board.
Okay.
Well, as we know, Sarah eventually moves to California. Exactly why, we don't know.
Okay.
Right? The legend that people love to say is that she spoke to a medium and William told her she had to move to fight this curse and build rooms for the spirits. Nobody
A curse
knows if
that
she
doesn't
went.
make sense at this point.
Right. A curse that we're blowing up. There's no evidence that she visited this medium, so it's not on record, but you would think it wouldn't be. What is he going to do?
Right.
Have an
You need a
appointment book that
receipt.
survived history?
Yeah.
But whether she went or not, there are several factors that make a lot of sense. One theory, or one part of this, is that New Haven had a lot of sad memories for her. Also, her sister Mary had died in 1884, and the remaining sisters moved out west, and they all agreed they wanted to
Oh.
be together. So she
Okay.
moved with her sisters. This is not something
Okay.
she just packed up and left.
That makes more sense.
Makes a ton of sense. Additionally, she had started to show signs of rheumatoid arthritis, and her doctor had told her
That better
that
weather.
different climates would help
Yeah.
her. That she should move somewhere like California, which has a better climate for that, and she should immerse herself in a hobby. So whether or not she saw the medium doesn't really matter. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't, but these other factors all make sense. She wants a fresh
Yes.
start. She wants to be with her sisters, and she thinks it will help her health. So in 1885, Sarah moved to California, again with her sisters and their families.
Yeah.
She was there for about a year before she went to Santa Clara Valley to look up and buy property. And
Okay.
this is where she bought the ranch from a man
Right.
named John Hamm. I don't think it's any relation to the John Hamm that we know today. It seems she started the project out of necessity because the ranch was small by Winchester standards, right? Her last home was 20,000 square feet.
Right.
So 12 rooms ain't going to cut it.
That's insane.
And then when she gets started, she remembers how much she loves having a project.
Yes.
How much William loved architecture and how it is something the two of them did together, and it
Yes.
helped her heal. Sarah studies architecture. She starts reading up on it. She starts looking at designs.
Love
She
this.
eventually starts drawing the designs herself
Oh,
and
yes.
is
Go, girl.
meticulous about it and enjoys implementing them.
Good for you.
Now, despite all the weird quirks, which we'll get into, there are several details and little bits of ingenuity that Sarah Winchester seemed to have in this home. For one, she has the carriage house room that we mentioned that kept her from having to go outside in bad weather.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you remember in this room, there's a very long switchback style staircase that was over 100 feet long, and everybody freaks out because it had 7 turns. Well, Sarah's arthritis was so severe as she aged that she was unable to lift her foot more than a couple inches. So she took out the original staircase and replaced it with what they called easy riders, which were very low, tiny steps, basically a ramp that would accommodate her so she could get to the carriage house.
And it turned 7 times because if it didn't, it would be too long and it wouldn't get high enough.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's just a ramp. That's all it is. Yeah.
I mean, if she could, she'd have those thing that the little thing you attach to the rail and then you go up.
The chair. Yeah. Her health was also the reason why she wore the black gloves. Her hands were gnarled from arthritis as she aged and disfigured, and she was self-conscious about them.
Sure.
She also had several missing teeth. I don't know the reason, but lots of medications in those days caused your teeth to fall out. Also, 1800s dentistry is not cutting edge. And so that's why she wore a veil.
Okay, so she was just very self-conscious.
Yeah, she was just shy and felt uncomfortable. Sarah Winchester also built 2 conservatories with built-in watering systems.
Cool!
The floorboards could be removed, and she had plumbing in the house, so it was actually available.
Yeah, sign me up.
And people often fixate that there's a skylight in the floor, but she had a banister built around it, and I think it looks cool. I think it was a design choice.
I think she's probably like a really brilliant architect with just some quirky ideas.
Yeah, and she's also a new architect.
Yeah.
Right? She had hydraulic elevators in the home.
Wow.
A home that she built as high as 7 stories in some places.
Whoa.
She had a room called the Hall of Fires.
She just had fun, man. This is what's happening.
This had 7 heaters, which everybody fixates on, 3 radiators and 4 fireplaces. Why? Everyone says it's the number 7. Because it was a sauna. It helped her with her pain. She would turn everything on and she would go and sit in there to help with her arthritis.
Ugh, I hate saunas, but I get it.
But genius.
Yeah.
It's a really good idea. The entire 3rd floor was for the servants.
Okay.
Right? She had a lot of servants. And she had, for the time, state-of-the-art washrooms with sinks and faucets and soap holders. Working there must have been actually a dream. You get paid twice as much and you have the most up-to-date stuff happening.
Make your job a lot easier.
In the kitchens, she had marble shelves in the pantry, and she would have ice delivered to keep things cool.
Oh, fancy.
She had functional countertops with grooves, and they were installed on a slant so that when you wash them, everything just drained right into the sink.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
And she even had a rudimentary intercom for her servants.
What?
Yeah, they would see the number of the floor she was pop up on the 3rd floor, and they would know that she needed them.
That's so cool.
She designed a beautiful ballroom with an organ at the center, and she was an accomplished pianist, so she would play as long as her hands allowed.
Put a piano in, not an organ. It's too creepy.
A little creepy, but she did it. She imported things from all over the world, Japan, Germany, Italy, and she even designed some of the stained glass windows herself, along with geometric designs and principles that she liked. Lots of times these contained 13 things, and people would freak out. She also would buy stained glass from Tiffany's.
So pretty.
Her parlor floor, where she would entertain the few guests that she did have, was made from 4 different types of wood and was an intricate diamond pattern that took over 1 year to install.
Okay, I kind of do want to see this house. It seems interesting architecturally.
It's really
Just
interesting.
take out the stupid haunting part.
Now, the seance room, right, which is where she was supposed to go every night, there is no evidence that that's ever what she did.
Can't the servant speak to this? I don't get it.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Sources believe that this was actually a gardener's room, which makes sense because it looks down into the conservatory.
Yeah.
I mean, if she did use this room at all, it could have been a meditation room. It could have been a room where she just wanted off limits for herself.
Yeah.
Who knows? But there's no evidence that she would go in there every night from 12 to 2
and talk to the dead
and get the next design for the day. Now, what's interesting is in the book I mentioned, Captive of the Labyrinth, they note that the very first articles on Sarah Winchester in the local newspapers were very complimentary. They described her improvements to the house as fantastic. They wrote these articles with, 1800s flourish and admiration for the designs. But Sarah refused to do any interviews, and she refused to be friendly with her neighbors because she was busy.
Yeah.
This caused people to make up their own stories.
Oh, I see.
So it starts with her that she's really private, that she keeps to herself, and then it snowballs into, well, it's because she's superstitious. Yeah. Well, she has to keep building. Well, she's afraid of death. Well, she feels guilty because she's a Winchester. God, and these rumors just start building and building and building, and the newspaper runs with it. This is where they claim that she's into spiritualism, communing with the spirits every night, blah, blah, blah. You can see how it just keeps upping itself.
Oh, yeah.
And again, there's no evidence that Sarah was ever into spiritualism, but she never refuted it.
Huh.
She just let them talk, which I kind of love about her.
Because she didn't care.
No, she didn't let them talk. And so as they were free to do whatever they wanted, it continued to grow. And attitudes on guns had also started to change while Sarah is doing this construction. As more cities are being built up, guns are becoming a little bit more of a problem. In a wide open space where you're hunting, guns are really needed, which is how these guns were invented for the Winchesters. But as time moves on, you don't want a gun in a small space.
No.
But Sarah has very little to do with that. There's no evidence that she ever felt guilty about this. The attitude is that she felt that they were necessary, that they were something that people needed at the time. But she has an income of about $1,000 a day.
Holy shit, back then. Can you imagine?
Can you imagine? People saw her work on the house as wasteful because other people aren't doing so hot.
I see.
And that makes her another reason to be an easy target.
Got it.
But what they don't know is that she constantly donated to charities, and she did it anonymously.
Of course.
There's only one article published throughout Sarah's time that attempts to refute all of these weird rumors, but nobody wanted to listen to it. It was forgotten as soon as it was printed. Nobody wanted to think that the reason she was doing this was because she loved architecture, or the reason they heard the organ notes coming from the house at night was because Sarah was an accomplished pianist, or that she had given millions of dollars in charity. That, what we want to believe is that it's a curse and the house is full of spirits.
Awful.
In 1906, there's an earthquake in California.
Oh my God, yeah.
A very bad earthquake.
Yes.
Very high on the Richter scale. Sarah's years of hard work were destroyed.
Oh.
The 7-story tower crumbled. Chimneys collapsed. The entire 4th floor was destroyed.
Oh my God, did people die?
Sarah herself was trapped in the rubble in her bedroom, and the servants had to knock the door down to get her out.
Whoa.
This earthquake was devastating for Sarah, financially because it ruined the house, but
Yeah.
it provides the most logical reason to explain the mystery of the Winchester home. Many will claim that Sarah built into her death, but there's no evidence that Sarah continued building after the earthquake. Instead, sources say that she simply decided to just clear the debris away.
Got it.
You have a stray staircase. There's no longer a floor there. Just board it up.
Oh, that makes so much more sense.
You have a door that goes to nowhere because the balcony was just ripped off. Just lock it.
Yeah.
That is what the author of the book I mentioned believes.
Got it. Do you think like she just got, like it was so upsetting, like so much work had been just ruined that she just gave up?
I think it had accomplished what she meant for it to accomplish. It had been something that she enjoyed doing and that was helping her deal with her grief. And I think she had moved on. She had real estate all over the state.
Okay.
She was building in other places. She was getting older. Her health wasn't as good. The other theory about the oddities in the house, and I think it might be a combination of both, is that she made mistakes. She was new at this. So there are architectural errors that led to things like a pole being installed upside down or a cupboard that opened to the back of the house because that room hadn't been there before, or windows that looked into another bedroom because
it was addition.
Yeah, she made additions later on and she didn't fix them.
Yeah.
That's also a very likely theory. Now, despite Sarah's need for privacy, she was not a shrinking violet, even though she was very quiet and never refuted the rumors. She took more than one person to court who took advantage of her and her situation.
All right.
A contractor living on her land subletted the property and then didn't pay Sarah. He wasn't supposed to sublet the property, and of course he was supposed to pay. Another developer emptied sewer lines onto her property. She took them both to court, and even though she was clearly 100% in the right, the public opinion sided with the men in this situation because Sarah was so eccentric.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Now, we'll never know the real Sarah Winchester, but I think the accounts of the people she loved and she spent time with hold a lot more weight for me than the newspaper articles.
Yeah.
For instance, Frank Carroll had been Sarah's driver in New Haven, and he moved to California with her.
Oh.
He was younger than Sarah, and she expected him to be with her for her entire life, but sadly, he died unexpectedly. She paid for his funeral, bought his widow and his children a house, and then sent the widow monthly payments.
What? Wow.
Mrs. Carroll spoke so highly of Sarah and was horribly upset when the house became what it is today.
God, it's a shame.
Now, Sarah supported her family. She bought homes for her sisters and their children. Her sister, Belle, who was an activist and very vocal, became the director of the Humane Society, and she would go around, you would love this woman, she would go around making citizens arrests if she suspected animal cruelty.
Yes.
Then she started what was essentially being a social worker and doing the same thing for children.
Fuck yeah, Belle.
Removing children from the abusive homes and sometimes fostering them in the house that Sarah Winchester bought for her.
Yeah.
All the while, Sarah is paying for her sister's expenses. She gives her a monthly allowance.
Got it.
Now, Sarah's favorite niece, Daisy, adopted one of these children that Belle brought home, a young girl about 6 years old who was physically abused by her father. The parents agreed to the adoption until they found out that Daisy was related to Sarah Winchester.
Are you kidding me?
Then they wanted to renegotiate the terms.
Gross.
To include cash payments.
Yep.
They fought for 3 years. The whole time, Daisy has the child, so at least the child is safe. But the courts rule that the child should go back to the mother.
No.
As soon as the verdict is delivered, Daisy mysteriously is gifted a property by Sarah Winchester. I mentioned she purchased property for her family, but it always was kept in her name. This is the one exception where she signed the house over to Daisy.
Okay.
Shortly after that, a meeting occurred between Daisy and the girl's mother, who agreed to an adoption and signed the daughter over to Daisy.
Wonder why.
If you read between the lines, it's thought that Sarah provided the funds for Daisy to give the mother what she asked for to keep the little girl safe. Sarah Winchester also made constant donations to causes she believed in, almost always anonymously. The only way we even know is sometimes her lawyer spoke out Like
Oh.
she saved the redwoods of California with her
I love
donation.
the redwoods.
She also, her most public donation was over $1 million donation to the Yale University Hospital for a tuberculosis clinic.
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
her donation allowed for a separate annex to be built with state-of-the-art sterilization, electricity, elevators, you name it.
Wow.
It was only after the building was completed that Sarah dedicated it to her husband that the public found out who had donated the funds. The grounds were designed by a well-known landscaper, which Sarah paid for. And an archway was created that read William Wirt Winchester Hospital. In 1918, it was officially dedicated with a plaque that read, "In memory of William Wirt Winchester, the annex of this New Haven hospital to be used for the care of persons suffering from tuberculosis was erected and endowed by his wife."
Oh, that's really sweet. What's his middle name?
Wirt, W-I-R-T.
So his initials are WWW?
When Sarah Winchester died on September 5th, 1922, she was alone in her bedroom at the Winchester House. But she had not even spent her final years living there. She only moved closer to be near her doctor when she realized that she was dying.
Okay.
She had left most of her estate to charity,
Hmm.
parts to her employees, and portions of it to her nieces and nephews because she was the last sibling alive in her family.
Really?
Yes. She also put a provision in her will that said anyone who contested it would get nothing because she knew.
I love that.
I know. She knew nieces and nephews
That's so smart.
who she hadn't spoken to in years would show up and start fighting and throwing a fit because employees were getting more or as much as them.
Have you seen Knives Out?
No.
It's very relevant. You should watch it.
Which I just love that about her. I mean, Daisy was with her all the time, her favorite niece.
Yeah.
And Daisy didn't get a ton of money, but she still was taken care of because she took care of Sarah.
Right.
And then there's all these other like ancillary nieces and nephews, and she still gave them something, but you know, she wasn't about to be taken advantage of. She gave her employees big chunks of money.
I love that.
Yeah. Now, it took 8 truckloads a day for 6 weeks to remove all of the furniture in the house, and it was auctioned off. But her most precious possession was kept in a double safe within the walls of the Mystery House. It was a lock of Annie and William's hair, along with their obituaries.
Sad.
Ugh. Sarah Winchester was transported back to New Haven to be reunited with her husband and daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So after Sarah Winchester's death, pretty shortly after, a man by the name of John H. Brown, who was a roller coaster inventor, bought the house and opened it for tours. That's when talk of spirits being at the house really took off.
And he probably wanted that to get more people.
Of course he did. Yeah.
Gross.
That's when the story of Sarah being trapped in the house was there. That she was still in that house overseeing it led to embellishments on her character when she was alive.
Got it.
After her death, Mr. Lieb, who was her lawyer for years, was quoted as saying that Sarah was as sane and clear-headed a woman as I have ever known. She had a better grasp of business and financial affairs than most men.
It sounds like it.
Huge compliment in those days.
She seems like a smart lady. She keeps to herself. Like, this is what would happen to me, probably. Not that I'm smart.
You have to first get $1,000 a day budget.
Let's work on that. Any takers, email me at teatimecrimes@gmail.com. But I'm not super friendly to neighbors and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, well, must be the spirits.
Is that what they say about you in your neighborhood? Oh my goodness.
Oh, I hope so.
Is it published in the newspapers? Yeah, but I think that Sarah Winchester was probably just an intelligent, kick-ass introvert.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's it. She's a little eccentric and she loves to do certain projects. And I just love that about people. When people like go all into like something they really love, it's just so cool.
Yeah. And I understand that maybe some of the flaws in the house could have been due to the fact that she was a novice, but I couldn't sketch you.
Oh boy.
I couldn't sketch you a shed.
We played Pictionary.
Yeah. So I couldn't tell you a shed and how to build it in the dimensions. It would end up looking like,
oh dear God,
Picasso. Yeah. It's not going to go well. Like, that's impressive that
It's
she's
so
self-taught and
Yeah.
drawing up these plans on her own.
I'm indoor. Not like that.
Whoa, are you in love? That's why Sarah came to
She's
visit
so
you.
cool.
You've got a crush on Sarah Winchester. And the thing is that the people who work there, they were so loyal to her. They were not happy with how the house
I'm sure.
was talked about after she died because it
I'm
was opened
sure.
up. It had been this private sanctuary that had been her
Yes.
creation. It was opened up to the public, which felt disrespectful.
Voyeurism.
And then all of these stories start coming out, and they knew, that was somebody who said, no, that was the gardener's room. Other people said that all the things with 13, they were not in the house when Sarah was there, that they were added later.
To make it spooky.
Yeah, and
Fuck
the example they
you.
give in particular is that chandelier with 13 lights that was imported from Germany.
Yeah.
They said that was not there originally and that it had been added. And they said also if Sarah had added it, it would have been done better than what it is today. She would have had it custom made. She wouldn't have just added it on. They say it looks like a stagehand did it.
Wow.
The same thing as like 13 panels in a room, those kinds of things.
That's upsetting to me.
They say were added later. Yeah.
Pitiful in a
Yeah.
bad way.
Yeah. I think Sarah Winchester was just an unbelievably generous woman who didn't want any attention.
Yeah.
She donated so much money throughout her lifetime
Yeah.
that we won't even know about. And the fact that she left money to all of her employees,
So freaking cool.
well, not all of them, but most of them, like the ones, I don't know the list, but she
Yeah.
left something to people who had been there and been loyal to her for years. So that is the legend. You can tour the house. It's actually pretty cool. You can do a virtual tour. Or you can
I could do that.
or you can rent a video and they talk about it. Yeah, it's not scary at all. I did it with my son. We watched the whole video. We sat and ate popcorn, and they take you through each room that,
Oh, cool.
her bedroom and things like that. It's not scary at all. It's very cool. I put the link in the source notes, but you have to pay for it. It's, I don't know, $5 or something. Yeah, I don't even know if I'd want to see it in person. Now that I know the full story, I almost feel as if I don't want to be disrespectful.
I know.
To Sarah. And there's tons of things about the ghost legends on YouTube if you look, but knowing the real history of her, they just all kind of lose steam.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think the house is haunted at all. And if it is, I think it's just a regular old haunting. It's not this curse that has hundreds of people trapped who were killed by the Winchester Rifle. It's probably just Clyde picking up some leaves, moving on with his day. That's it. Clyde. I like Clyde. There's a picture of Clyde I'll show you. But I think Sarah Winchester has moved on. I think she is wherever she is with William and Annie, and she doesn't have any time for this.
Under the ground and at peace.
She didn't have time for it when she was alive, and she doesn't have time for it now.
Yeah. Man, people suck. But that's generally the theme of life.
Yeah, just attacking a independent.
Yeah.
It's very similar to the first story we did for spooky season, which was the Hartford Witch Panic, because it's obviously a different outcome.
Yeah.
But they're picking on the same type of woman. Sarah Winchester, had she been born in the 1600s, could have been in danger.
Luck for her.
Yeah, she was eccentric. She didn't fit into the norms, all these things. But I knew you wouldn't be scared about this one because almost everything that's in that house is not true. I would love very much to walk with Sarah Winchester through the Winchester home and just have her tell me what everything was. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Have her tell me why that was there and why that wasn't there and what she was thinking. Because there are so many theories that some of the windows that look into other rooms were so that her staff could keep an eye on her as she was getting older. But also I've seen that on additions where people a window's there and we didn't cover it up.
Right.
It's just a common thing.
No, it makes so much sense. And the earthquake part makes so much sense to me.
Yeah, that makes so much sense for the door especially.
Yeah.
Because it is this weird, they have it with a plaque underneath it that says a door to nowhere.
But they put the plaque in after.
They put the plaque there, yeah. It makes so much sense that the balcony used to be there and it just fell.
Yeah.
And she thought, I never go on that balcony, just leave it. I mean, this is a woman who's advanced in age by the time this happens and is suffering from rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah, she would,
And she died in 1922.
Yeah.
And she probably just was like, you know what? I've done enough here.
Yeah, I've had my fun.
And she has properties, like I said, all over California. She was very good at real estate development, better than she was at architecture.
So cool.
Yeah, I'm a fan. So if that was her in the beginning, thanks for joining, Sarah.
Yeah.
You can come visit me now. You can skip out of Alana's house before she cries.
Yeah.
All right, so what are your last words?
One is that I know gossip can be fun and, like you like to spill the tea and lean into rumors, but just be considerate of who might be hurt from that and the heart of things, right? Sometimes, and a lot of times, things are harmless, but you can really perpetuate something that's not true and that is incredibly harmful just because someone's different or you don't have a reason for something. That doesn't mean something's wrong or, XYZ that somebody made up is true. It's just, I don't know. Rumors can be really harmful. I mean, especially now, too, because information flies so fast.
Right. Yeah, it can spread really quick.
2, I mean, I already said it, but if you love something weird, just go into it. Like, just love what you love as long as it doesn't hurt other people or yourself. But, do that weird hobby. Go forage the mushrooms. Go do your stained glass. Go, make little figurines of ballerinas. I don't know. Whatever you want to do, I love when people put their heart into something, even if there's not getting anything from it. Like, she wanted to do it because she loved the project, not because she was preparing to sell this crazy mansion.
Right. Yeah. And she also was employing a ton of people and paying them way more than they would have got elsewhere.
It's just neat.
Which I think she looked at as something that she could do.
Yes.
As a service she could provide.
I make $1,000 a day, which
I've got money to
then
spend.
is a lot. I can't
Let's
even
take
imagine.
a year to put this floor in.
Yeah.
It is so intricate because every piece would have had to been cut separately to make the diamond design. It's
yes.
I mean, she was letting people practice their creative arts and get paid really well for it, which is something that isn't always looked at that way.
Yeah, it's just neat. I just think it's neat.
Yeah, agreed.
So that's what I have to say. And ghosts aren't real.
If you go to California, will you go visit the house?
No.
Okay.
I don't want to go to Santa Clara.
Well, if you were there.
I mean, maybe. But again, I feel I'm on the line whether it's disrespectful to her or not. Because of what they've turned it into a clown show.
Yeah.
Or a ghost show.
Yeah. Well, that's how legends get passed down.
Yeah.
Through generations, and
there's always a real reason behind these things.
Mm-hmm. And it makes so much sense. And it's really a heartbreaking story that she went through.
It is.
All the loss.
I would not know how to exist after that kind of loss.
Right. After the loss of Annie, it unbearable. Well, who should listen?
Journalists.
Take note. Well, journalism's come a long way, but yeah.
It has, but still, I think some papers still do this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Journalists, let's see, architects, ghost hunters, sisters. Hey, this is a story where domestic servants did okay. I just realized.
Man, they did so great. Clyde decided to stick around. Finally.
Dude.
Sarah Winchester breaking up stereotypes left and right.
Seriously.
Gosh, not only did they have gainful employment with a nice lady, but then they got something in the will later.
Love it. Love it. Yeah,
finally.
Because usually it does not go well in these stories.
No.
And I guess hobbyists, lastly, do what you do.
All right. Awesome. Well, we will be back next week for our final spooky season story. You can find us on all the platforms at
Tea Time Crimes. No, just Tea Time Crimes. There's no end. I just got excited.
And you can email us at
teatimecrimes@gmail.com.
And you can visit our website, listen to old episodes, buy our merch at
teatimecrimes.show.
I'm wearing a Tea Time Crimes I
didn't even notice it.
I'm wearing our own sweatshirt. Tea Time Crimes sweatshirt, yeah.
Yeah, baby.
All right, thank you so much for listening. Please rate, review, like, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
I ain't afraid no ghosts. Bye.